Do you get this, guys? Do you get that anybody who loved that show, just the thought of seeing the two of you together just sort of feels like home for people?
Wow, that's good to know. I kind of like that. I know that anytime any two of us get together, it's it's the combined specific gravity of that. It's not just you yourself, which is its own thing. Whenever any two of us get together, it's kind of an event. So, but we do it all the time. I mean, we hang out all the time. Not just me and Jay, but other members of the cast. We all still pretty much see each other.
Do you find that you get that a lot? Do you find that people want to know whether you guys are still friends? That matters?
Yes, that seems to be a question that is pretty pervasive. It seems to be question number 2, right after was Shannon really a bitch?
Yeah, they usually do come in that order.
And the answer to question number 1 is yes, and then question number 2 is yes.
And it doesn't matter in which order they ask.
Would either of you like to say anything nice about Shannon Doherty?
Because we're all friends here, right? We can get down to brass tacks.
A lot of nice things to say about Shannon. Of course. You know, I worked with her for years. We did a lot of great work together. I mean, clearly, some of you guys like those scenes, right? She's a fine actress.
Yeah.
And, we just, on the day, we had some problems. But those are well documented. We don't need to get into them here. I have no hard feelings. Got nothing but love for that young lady.
I actually concur with everything that Luke just said. I mean, Shannon, I worked very closely with Shannon for a very long time. Shannon and I had a lot of very good times together and did a lot of great work together. I actually worked with her very closely as a director too for a very long time. I got a lot of love for Shannon. Shannon was going through a lot of very difficult things in her life, and unfortunately, a lot of the difficulties she was having in her life. She was bringing a lot of those problems in her personal life to our place of work. And I'm sure, as all of you know, you guys are all professional people who have careers and jobs. And
sure you are.
And it's Friday afternoon. You're here with us. Sick day, right, guys? As you guys all know, you can't let your personal life bleed into your professional job, and unfortunately, Shannon was letting that happen a little too often. Shannon was just having a hard time, and that's unfortunately we had to part ways with her, which was too bad. But that's all it was.
There was no Twitter at the time, but it didn't matter what town or city you were in. It just seemed like everybody just wanted Brenda off the show. And were you guys aware of that even without having the connection that you would have today working on a show with fans?
No. The thing about my answer is no. I mean, he'll hit you with his in a second. The nature of the filming that we did was so intensive in terms of we filmed, most shows would do 22 episodes in a year. A lot of the years we were doing 32 episodes. We had an extra third of a season to do, so our workload was so intense that there wasn't any social media. We spent 12 hours or more every day, 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week in this building in Van Nuys. And I didn't read a newspaper for days on end. I didn't, it just didn't, there was nothing in my life like that program for a while. So it was hard to catch on to any of that stuff.
I of course, was hip to what was going on. I had friends in the outside world that were very connected to the outside world that would deliver me copies of the I Hate Brenda newsletter. That was a very comical piece of
that breaks my heart.
It was kind of mean, but it was also kind of funny. That was sort of the social media of the day. Somebody actually took time out of their lives to cobble together this sort of homemade newspaper. I mean, that was kind of where I think people were the internet was very young back then, and people were starting to.
And the internet was invented to keep up with 90210. That's why it was a little late in happening, but that's why.
Al Gore invented the internet because he was a big 90210 fan.
That's right. That's right. Really wanted to know more about what was going on.
And I don't blame him. Because we were pretty.
Yeah.
to never let fame go to your head. At any point from 91 until the end of the show, did fame get to your head?
Hell no. No, I gotta tell you, I don't like being famous. I don't fight it. I'm not an asshole about it. I know it's the nature of what my life is now, but you know, I prefer to just be in the crowd and move along. But that's not really the way anymore. But the thing that happened with us, and you know, a little bit I can speak for Jason here. It happened fast. It happened real quick, and it happened big. We got real famous real fast, and that's why we had to talk about it. Because it was freaking out everybody else around us. You know, the people that worked for us, and the people who worked for the network, they had never been involved in anything like it. We had never been involved in anything like it. And we were able to look and see how it was changing a lot of people. They were starting to behave differently, the way that they would relate with other people, their relationships would become different. And we just looked at each other and said, let's just not buy into this shit, man. Let's just keep going to work, and they'll all scream, and then we'll go to work. Let's just keep going to work and not worry about any of this. And we pretty much stuck to that. You know, we've never been competitive about who gets to do what, or, you know, anything like that. There were people in our respective camps that had concerns about who would get a magazine cover, who would get to Saturday Night Live first, or anything like that. We just never gave a shit about any of that.
And that was the pact that we were talking about. It was just about, you know, that we would, you know, the thing that would always come first with us was the work. And if we took care of the work, then the work would take care of itself.
It's like your teeth. You take care of them, and they'll take care of
you. You get one set. And any kids out there in the audience, I want to remind you, you only get one set of teeth. And if you take care of them, they'll take care of you. That's right.
So we got lives on that show. You know, we learned things. No, but the fame, it just, you know, when you're going through it, you're experiencing it, and it doesn't go away after a year, it doesn't go away after 2 years, it doesn't go away after 5 years, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. You can't let it drive you, because you never have control over why you're famous, for how long you're famous, you know, none of that. So it's just, I don't worry about it.
The show dealt with, at the time, I mean, you know, even at the time, talking about AIDS or safe sex or date rape, alcoholism, I think you smoked heroin on the show.
I did.
You did smoke heroin on the show. When this stuff was coming up, how much of those sort of issues came from you guys, came from the cast? Gauging just from the fans that you would be what was important to the people that watched the show?
You know, our original showrunner on the show, a guy named Chuck Rosen, he was very committed to the idea of doing socially responsible television and talking about these issues of kids having unprotected sex in the age of HIV, the drugs, all that stuff. And what sort of happened was, so okay, we'll do this episode about these two kids, they're gonna have sex, and then once we pop that bubble, as it were, that's all people really wanted to see these guys doing. And who was doing it with whom, you know, and Chuck was bummed about that. He sort of wanted to keep going down the road of the socially responsible, issue-driven episodes. But what the powers that be and everybody sort of came to realize was, no, they like these kids, you know, wearing nice clothes and getting together. So a lot of the episodes became about that, you know, and that was okay by me, and it was okay by us. We all, you know, liked them and watched them. And what I find though, even to this day, like today, I met some folks who came, and a mother who had her daughter, and obviously the daughter, you know, she caught up in reruns or on DVD, however. But I always, every time I do something like this, I invariably come across somebody that says, and you know, me and my mom, we talked about that because it was on the show. And we'd never talked about it before, and I don't know if we had ever talked about it. There were all kinds of different issues, you know, from, you know, the obvious stuff, like sexuality and drugs, to, you know, bullying, just not having much self-confidence and all that kind of stuff. And in those situations, TV has done a good thing. And it's not often that it does. So I thought that was kind of cool.
You fought like hell at the beginning of this when people would refer to you as a role model.
Yeah.
You didn't want to be a role model.
Yeah.
It wasn't in your contracts. Was there anybody in Barclay said that you were a role model? Now that you have your own kids and you see television today,
Yeah.
does your view as far as what role model you may have been change?
Does my market changed.
Do you think maybe you should have grabbed onto that a little bit more?
No.
No.
No, I don't. Because I'm a guy on TV pretending to be somebody else. If you're a parent to a child, you have to be the role model to that child. And then you have to spend, it has to be important to you, and you have to spend time in your life doing it. I can only do that for the 2 children that I have. I can barely do that for the 2 children. But looking back, and I always try, and I tell my kids this, they're actors, they're people, they're this. It's the characters that we all fall in love with. And we're the same too. You guys fall in love with the characters, we fall in love with the characters too. We're just guys going to work, and we're lucky we get to play these characters. But I always tell that to my children, the things that you see these people do on TV, they were sort of designed to do that. They were written by committee. Without pulling the cover off of what entertainment is, I still want them to enjoy it. But I say to them, that's not your role model. Now I am a role model. But back then, I was 23 years old. I had to go do it.
Who's the best kisser?
Obviously, it's a misunderstood question.
No, it's true. I'll admit it.
Well, I kissed a lot of girls on that show.
Did you kiss a lot of girls because of that show too?
I think I might have got them kissed anyway, but I'm sure. Probably a couple hundred.
Did anybody ever date you hoping to date your character? Did you meet girls that just wanted you to be the guys on TV?
Yes.
Yeah.
They were horribly disappointed. Yeah, girls would date me thinking they were going to date the virtuous Brandon Walsh. They were horribly disappointed. like that, they would sit down and go out for dinner with me, and I'd order a Manhattan, and they would look at me like, well, what, huh? You don't want to start with the ginger ale? No, sorry, sweetie. This isn't going to end well for you.
Yeah, I would date girls, and they'd be expecting that bad boy, and I'd say, you got it. That's how it goes.
Who was your favorite secondary female character? Because there was Emily Valentine, Claire, and Valerie that all sort of came in.
Oh, I know who those are. I see all these pictures in my head. I know who that
Right.
was. Kathleen and then that other.
Right. Valerie was Tiffany Thiessen. Claire.
Wait, to do this?
Claire was Kathleen Robertson, Canadian girl, beautiful skin.
Let's hear it for the beautiful Canadian girls. That's what they have.
Emily Valentine, of course, Christine Louise.
I think Jason's sort of backed into a corner here with that choice, so I'm going to step in and say that, Tiff brought a real shot in the arm to the show when she came in. And I think it was because she was wearing only a bra and underwear. First time we saw her, right? Yeah.
And wore them well.
Yeah. She wore them and she wore them well. Yeah. And that did not hurt the show. At all.
I'm gonna say that each one of those girls brought something very different to the show, and brought something very different to the show at a time when the show needed it. I think when Christine came to the show needed that kind of, that kind of like alternative, girl energy to the show. I think the show kind of needed that kind of shot in the arm. And then when Tiffany came to the show needed that kind of shot. Shannon just left the show. We needed that.
And this was the genius of Aaron Spelling. The brother would look at a show and go, you know what we need? This is what we need. And then he would go get it.
Yeah.
And I'm damn glad he was like that, because brother looked at the pilot and said, you know what we need? We need some guy to be kind of back and go get that one kid. I would have never had a job otherwise.
Yeah.
Aaron was really good about, he never lost his objectivity on the shows, which I thought was really cool, because I would sit and watch other shows that he produced with him, like I'd sit there like Seventh Heaven, First Star, and stuff like that. And I'd sit there and be in Aaron's office, be watching an episode with him, and he'd be making his notes and stuff like that, or he'd just be dictating them, and he always kept his objectivity. He could sit and watch a show and go, that didn't work, and this is why, and he would, and he had the power creatively and otherwise to make all the changes he wanted to. So, you know, I got to give credit where it's due. Bless you.
What was your relationship with Aaron, Jason?
My relationship with Aaron was, I had a wonderful, very sort of avuncular relationship with Aaron.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either.
Jesus, well, I mean, he was educated in America, so I can understand that. You. Beat you in the Lord 1812, and I'll beat you again. Avuncular, uncle-like.
Okay.
Yes.
Or uncle-like.
Yes.
Okay.
Avuncular. Right? Anyone? Anyone? Right?
Any avuncular people out there? Nieces, nephews?
I had a very avuncular relationship with him. He was a great friend. He was also a great teacher to me. He taught me invaluable. It gave me an invaluable relationship about speaking, which obviously I forgot. Most of those lessons that he taught me.
Avuncularly so.
Yeah. No, he taught me a lot about television and the way television works and how to tell stories. But he also taught me a lot about how to polish off a bottle of vodka, which he was very good at. Oh my God.
He was diligent.
He would not quit. He would not quit until that bottle was empty. So Aaron was a great storyteller. He was very pragmatic about telling stories, and he had very simple rules about how to tell a story, and he wanted everything to be very aspirational and very beautiful, and he was also wanting to keep everything very simple, and you know, those rules of storytelling are the hallmarks of storytelling that all of the producers that are still working, a lot of the producers that are working today follow his rules of storytelling that he's been following since from the moment he started in the 60s till the moment he died. All these guys are continuing on to this day.
And they just do that because they want to have all the money like he had. That's right. That's the truth of it. You know, get producers to copy Aaron, that's why. That's what you know, and I gotta tell you, he did not set out to become the uber-rich television producer, world record holder that he was. It just sort of all happened bit by bit by bit. And he thought about these other shows, and he got in business with these other writers, and then he had 6 shows on the air, and then he had 7 shows on the air, and then, you know, ABC belonged to him from the 70s. But it wasn't his intention. He just loved, like Jason said, he loved to tell stories. He would sit in his office and tell us stories. He'd come to the set, sit in our dressing room, and tell us stories. He just was always doing it.
But he also had he had a strange relationship. He was loved. He was adored by fans, and people loved to watch his product. But he was also hated by the critics. Television critics hated him. They panned all of his shows. He was the worst reviewed television shows through the 70s and the 80s. All of his shows were reviewed horribly, and our show was no different. When our show was first reviewed by the New York Times and the New York Post, we got scathing reviews. Not only the show, but us actors in particular were singled out as.
They like my side.
Oh my God.
Everybody.
Literally, they were like, you know, all those kids on that show. Yeah, you guys all just signed your death warrants, and you guys should all go back to theater school and don't even bother anymore. You could just go back to working in Tim
Yeah, I
Hortons.
remember there was that one chick that used to write for the Post in New York, Cindy Adams or whatever.
Yeah.
She decided she was going to bust into a new medium and have a half-hour television gossip show. She did the pilot on my ass. She thought, I'm just going to jump out there and tell the world Luke's done these dirty movies and Luke's a bad actor. And she had some casting director asshole come on and say, yeah, he needs a lot of work and this and that. And I thought, this is the business I'm in, Jesus. I'm just going to work, man. I'm doing the best I can. If you don't like it, cool. Do your little show about it, cool. That show never went on the air, just that pilot. And, you know, we went on to make many, many episodes, you know. Again, because we just concentrate on doing the work. And when the world's got we're not just throwing rocks, but you're hitting a slingshot. You know, you can either sit there and go, ow, ow, and really let it get to you and have it bother you. or you can just put the dough down and say, I'm going to work. Throw them rocks, keep them coming. I don't give a shit. When I start giving a shit, I'll start going away.
Fame then, as opposed to now, would you be able to handle fame if you were that young, that rich, that fast now?
The movie fame?
Anything.
Oh, anything. You know, I'll tell you, I would not, it's hard to be famous even now with all that stuff, but to be in the situation we were, with all the social media that exists right now, ain't no way. I would have hated it. I would have hated it. I mean, I don't participate very much in the social media now. I look at these people like Justin Bieber, you know, absolutely a creation of the internet, and it will be the internet that ultimately destroys him. That's a prediction. I'm just throwing it out there. The internet is a big monster. It is a big monster, and it can make you quick, and it can kill you just as quick. It robs people of their dignity in ways that it's never coming back. You know, these things get posted, and they're up there, and it's never coming back. And I am so glad that in my late teens and early 20s, you guys didn't have all the iPhones and this digital stuff. I got the tapes, and I smashed them myself. First of all, there were never any tapes. That's new. But nowadays, I think the burden of it all is easy. Social media, and it's so big that I just feel sorry for some of these kids now when I look at them, you know? Not that kid, that one kid. You know, these kids, they get too famous too quick. They're killing themselves. You know, it's just, it's a lot. And if you come to Hollywood, come to this business aspiring to be famous, it'll kill you. It will kill you. You better come wanting to do the work. Otherwise, you won't be there long, and it won't be that much fun.
Because here's the problem. When you get to the top of the mountain, and the problem with getting to the top of the mountain is you can get to the top of the mountain very quickly now because of the internet. When you get to, and it's just like being a mountain climber. When you get to the top of the mountain, there's nothing to hold on to. There's nothing around you but air. And it's just like that with being famous. You think that once you get famous, it's gonna fill this void inside you, or all of a sudden, you know, all of that love is gonna make you feel a certain way, and it's gonna fulfill you somehow. But it doesn't. There's nothing there at all. So you have to make sure that you are driven by something else. If you're driven by fame, fame is empty. Fame is hollow. Fame gives you nothing back. And the problem with the internet is people see it as a way to just get famous. And if that's all that's driving you, it is a hollow victory, and it will lead to your destruction.
There was a poll taken recently, but it was in my country, so the math is questionable. I beat him to it that time.
Written in crayon.
Written in crayon, all that. But they interviewed young kids of high school and middle school age, and they said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And 80% of them said, "Famous." And they didn't say why. They didn't say how. They just said, I want to be famous.
And they're actually, it has a name now, that syndrome. It's called Kardashian syndrome.
You clearly get what I'm talking about. And they just want to be in some kind of spotlight, because now, you know, everybody can make a movie. Everybody's got a thing. And so what famous is kind of a different, it's constantly, it's liquid, it's evolving, it's changing. And I guess my concern about any of it is they need to know, and listen to people that got famous before you did, because that's what I did. I met people that were famous before me, and I listened to them, you know, what's it about? You got to tell them that it's what Jason said. There's no there. You open the box when you're famous, you think there's going to be that great thing, and it's just not there. It's just you and your work and your friends, or hopefully your friends. A lot of times it'll be the people that call themselves your friends, that think they're your friends, come in your house and steal your shit. You know, they're not your friends.
Still your videotape. No, but there's no videotape. There is no.
No. We'd have to find a beta player to get it going.
Has
anybody ever walked up with just a giant pile of money to try and get the old gang back together for a special? And how many times have you guys seen it?
Old Navy did that last year.
Yeah.
And they did.
The appropriate size pile.
Would you do a one-off? If the money was, or is it about the money? What would it?
Let me ask you, because I really, this is one of my favorite things about doing these things. Let me take the temperature of this room. If I delivered to you guys a 90210 feature film with the original cast, how many people would go to the theater and see that? That tells me something. That tells me something. Yeah. You know, it's got to be, we've sort of all got the point now where it's got to be the right thing. We want to act together. We don't want to sit up here on a big long thing like this. I mean, you know, again, we'll do it, but we like to work with each other. So we like to try to find something like that, and, you know, kicking it around.
Did you guys watch Sharknado?
Okay. I need to admit one thing to you. I've never seen Sharknado, but from now on, instead of saying Sharknado, it's the hand signal for Sharknado.
I'm hearing it very first. I think that may be over.
Yeah, I didn't see Sharknado.
Yeah, we are both somewhat culpable in the whole Sharknado phenomenon, though, because independent of each other, we are both responsible for the fact that I decided to do that movie. Because I had a lunch with both of us independently, and he was like, and he was saying, oh man, you know, Sci-Fi offered me this movie, it's really bad. but I you know, I kind of feel, and I was like, dude, you gotta do that movie. Do that movie, man. Like, because I just sat through a marathon of Octo Shark and Malibu Shark Attack and Sharktopus.
You know, tell them the full truth here. The full truth. Did you guys see The Lone Ranger this summer, right? Big, gigantic. Okay. Sharknado.
You're the only one.
Sharknado was to be a Johnny Depp vehicle. They got hung up in production on The Lone Ranger. They knew it was going to go over. They weren't going to get Johnny. And they thought, well, who else? Who can do this?
I'm Jerry.
That's right. So, and that's how it works a lot of times in Hollywood. You're not the first choice for the part. Sometimes they want another guy. He's off, you know, playing an Indian. They came and they got on it. And I'm going to tell you what. Just from what I have seen in Sharknado, if you find yourself outside and it's raining big-ass sharks, that's the brother you want with a chainsaw.
Jason, are you doing a book?
Reading a book? No.
Yes, I'm doing the novel version of Sharknado right now. It's going to be exciting. Page turner.
Are you doing your memoir?
I am currently writing a memoir. I'm going to donate a couple of chapters to the Sharknado.
Yeah.
Why now? Why now for the memoir? I remember.
I don't know. It just seemed like, I don't know. It just seemed like maybe it was time. I don't know.
Why really? He doesn't know.
Here's the real reason. Every day that goes by, I forget a little bit more. And I'm afraid I'm just going to start to forget it all. I've suffered too much head trauma, and my kids are just sucking every bit of knowledge I have out of them. And I'm afraid it's going to go away.
He was educated in
I was educated in Canada.
Yeah.
Just
all that out there.
You guys missed that.
Yeah, you were beating me with that at the beginning of this talk, and you proceeded to say, I don't know, 5 times in a row. But you know, it's funny, because we talked about that the other night. We were on our way, we went to a movie together. A friend of ours had a screening, and Jason and I and his lovely wife, we went. And it's funny, we're on the red carpet, and I'm standing there, and we have Naomi in the middle of us, and we're taking these pictures. I look over at Jason, I say, yeah, you laugh now, watch, don't cut your ass out of this picture. Next day, he sends me an email, picture of me and his wife. And we were laughing, we knew at the time it was happening. This is what's going to happen.
Laughing at the time. Of course, there's Luke and my wife, and then next to there's a picture of me and my wife. like, oh, what? Ridiculous. Yeah. And they're so lazy. The media. So,
It was funny though.
of course, that was the American media.
TMZ. That's what we do.
How much? We know that Brandon played hockey on the show. Was that all you? Did you make an effort to bring a little bit of Canada to 90210 when you started off on that show?
You know what? I didn't have to. They were looking to bring Canada to 90210. They were, like if you look at how many Canadian actors cycled through that show, it was, they literally. If actors came through that casting office, they would say, "Oh, where are you from? Oh, you're from Vancouver? Oh, you're one of Jason's buddies? Great, you're cast. On the wardrobe." It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way if you're an American actor up here in Canada. You guys know about that, right? Or you don't? You guys, the actors union here is kind of like public welfare. Yeah, it is. If you come to Canada as an American producer, you can only bring like one American actor, and for every American actor, you have to hire, these other Canadian ones. And I'm just saying, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work for me to come up here and work in Canada like that. So Canadian actors have a bit of an advantage. I want to say to all you young actors in this room that feel like you got to go to Hollywood, don't. Go to Vancouver. You get there faster. You'll actually get to Hollywood faster if you go through Vancouver. You learned it here.
When's the last time you watched an episode of 90210?
Wilson.
And were you alone? Not like that, dude.
I walked in and my kids had an episode on the TV.
Which episode was it?
We were at the Walsh house. It was the one where I was...
Oh, that narrows it down.
Yeah. I'm telling you, we were in the back. I was working on my car. I was underneath the car. You went up to do something. I roll out from under the car. I look up. I see Shan, one of them kind of deals. And my son's like, "Look at you, Dad." That's all he said. He goes, "Look at you, Dad." Swift.
Maybe the saddest story I've heard in a week.
I've seen my kids, you've got 8 gazillion channels now, and I've seen my kids flick by me, and then I'm on another channel and flick right by. Different movies every time. Right by. It's so fun.
Jay.
Last time I saw an episode of 902, and I'm going to say 2004?
Really? How many years is that?
That would be 9 years ago, sir.
Well said. Because Jay directed a lot of the episodes, and you'd have to watch them if you directed them. And, so I think you've probably seen more of that.
Did you ever get sick of seeing yourselves when you guys won the covers of everything, and you couldn't turn on a station without seeing couldn't look at a magazine without seeing your face? Did you ever get sick of you?
Oh, I got sick of that.
Yeah.
Seeing his act.
Yeah, I got really sick of seeing him.
With the exception of Rolling Stone, which I went and bought 5 copies for my mother, as you are instructed to do in the song. I didn't, my sister, I think, has a collection of all the stuff, and I just never really paid that much attention to it because, like when you shoot a magazine cover, you got to do that on a Saturday or a Sunday, and you're back to work on a Monday, and you worked all night Friday. So I hate when they say, "Hey, they want you for the cover." I'd be like, really, I wanted to sleep on Saturday. They're like, "No, you got to shoot pictures for 8 hours." I'm like, "Oh my God." So after a while, I was just like, "No, get somebody else for the cover, please."
Yeah.
Go. But you can't buy into it because you start to think, "Wow, I look good on the cover now." I must be something. I want to be somebody. And that's death.
Where's the dolls? Do you guys have the collection still?
I've seen a couple today. Yeah, I've seen a couple of action figures.
Yeah?
Today.
I prefer to call them action.
Sorry. Did I say dolls? Oh my God, I can't believe I said dolls.
No, and I said when they, I remember Jason and I were in the producer's office and we were absolutely furious that they made these dolls without the kung fu grip. I said, if I'm on the action figure, that thing's got to have a kung fu grip. They didn't do it.
You don't own one? There's not one buried in your house somewhere?
No, I got one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie about that. I got one. Someone gave my daughter one. We kept it.
Yeah.
It's up in her closet box.
I used to have one. I don't have it anymore. I don't know what happened to
A
it.
Dylan doll? We'll get you one.
Thanks, Bubba. Maybe I'll ask Santa for one this year.
Oh, show him your stamp.
Oh, yeah.
Bust out the stamp, you know.
We got these stamps today.
We just found out.
From Darren Martin. Is Darren here?
Darren,
There he is. Darren Martin.
Ladies and
Darren Martin
gentlemen,
brought us these
rock and roll machine Darren Martin.
from the Republic of
It's in written in
the
French.
Ivory Coast. But because I was educated here in
In
Canada.
Canada, that's why he's having trouble with the French.
Je parle français, mon ami. Je suis Canadien. Hey!
Oh, get it on. Hey, Hulk Hogan arm wrestled the mayor this morning, dude. Bring it on!
So as you guys can tell, we didn't have any fun together working on our show. So this it's from the Ivory Coast, and they released these stamps with my face, Luke's face. And they were 200 francs. I'm sure they're not gonna be able to see it.
No.
Although they do have super sight powers because they're Canadians. They eat their vegetables and carrots because they're Canadian.
And their children. No, sorry. We eat our young.
Because eating poutine gives you supersonic sight powers.
But anyway, we just found out today, you were talking about the different things, the dolls and the action figures and whatnot. We just found out today they made us into a postage stamp in this country. A country that I have only recently heard of, never been to. And they formulated a postage stamp with me and my brother on there. I thought that was really, I thought that was cool. Now I'm gonna go home and try to see, what other stamps they got. Because I've been made into a lot of things. T-shirts, pillows, towels, never a postage stamp. Not until today. You can't beat that. Takes a licking, keeps on sticking.
Before we wrap up, what's the
Rest with yourself.
That's how we do that. Oh, shit. You just sent me a Christmas card next year. That better not be on.
Is this not what you kind of hoped it would be with these two guys, though, right?
Yeah, you guys having fun? Because ask all the stuff you want to ask, and
But I don't think you guys get this. I think there's a part of this that you don't get, which is what is fun for all of us is to just sit and watch you two guys goof. Like that's to know that it's real and that it's here and that it's not bullshit. This is what people people want.
Well, good, because to tell you the truth, what you're seeing right here, it's always been like this with us, and we always,
just how it goes.
we always had a great time, and we always, the camaraderie that you always saw with us on film, and the camaraderie that you saw with all of us on film was always genuine, and we always had a lot of love between all of us on set. We always had a genuine good time.
And not just those actors, but the crew too. We were inclusive of that. I still see members of the crew. They come to my house. I've had Ross and Randolph over this year. I still have. That was just such a special experience for all of us, actors and crew, that we've all stayed in touch.
And I think that the feelings that we all had on set, I think a lot of that, although it's a very intangible thing, I think a lot of that feeling comes through it comes through the television in a way. It's strange, but you can tell when you watch a show when it's really cold and there's no emotional attachment between the people. They're all just sort of walking around and hitting their marks and saying their dialogue. You can feel it. It feels cold, and
I noticed today when I'm looking at some of the pictures people were bringing up, and they have all these cast photos of us. And it's great because we're all touching each other. I got my hands in Jenny's pocket and Shannon's. We didn't care. We were just a big, young group of people, and we were hanging onto each other for dear life. You can see it in the photos.
Yeah.
Like, whose hand is that? And you go follow the art. Oh, that's Brian. No.
Why does Brian have his hand in my front pocket?
Really?
Is that roll of quarter in this? No, it's not.
Happy to see you, bud. But yeah, it's not like that, and we try to make it like that.
Yeah, it was a special time, and we all enjoyed our time together. That's for sure.
What when you started making money, what was the one thing you guys pissed it away on first, or pissed a little bit of it away on first?
I got a tattoo. No. I bought my first and only ever new pickup truck.
You bought a pickup truck?
Bought a pickup truck, man, big black one, F-350 Ford, 4-wheel drive. Wasn't really thinking about the gas prices of today when I bought that truck 25 years ago, but I did, man. I was very excited. I'd never had a new vehicle, ever. And it was about the third season. I thought, I'm getting me a new one, man. I'm going to do it. I was driving that Datsun, I was driving that blue Datsun. And I came to work one day, and I was getting off the freeway, and I downshifted, and the gear shift came off in my hand. I said, I'm buying a new goddamn truck. I'm going to buy a new truck. And I did. I really bought a new, brand new vehicle. It's the only time I've ever done that. I still haven't bought a new car since.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just kept buying houses.
I can afford it.
I'm like, yeah, cheap. Yeah, I know. I wish I could come up with something like, yeah, I went out and bought a yacht and I did it. I didn't. I was the really pragmatic one. I'm gonna buy a house. Boring.
Pragmatic, dude. You don't see Sammy Davis Jr.'s cufflinks. What are you talking about?
Yes. Yeah, but those only cost me like $400.
Yeah. Man,
because he was dead.
and he was over at Sammy's house, the auction or whatever. They're rolling out Sammy's stuff, out to beach, use the cash.
VC, man. VC had to sell his stuff, man.
Jay shows up the next day at work with these gold record cufflinks, says, hey there, Mr. Wonderful. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, dude, hey there, Mr. Wonderful.
They belong to the Samster, man. Pretty cool.
His brother's walking around with Sammy Davis Jr. on. I'm like, let's go.
Guys, I cannot thank you enough. I hope everybody here enjoyed this.